From Oshkosh Community Media Services, this is Oshkosh City Cable 10 and broadcast on 101.9 FM WOCT Oshkosh. From Oshkosh Community Media Services and the City of Oshkosh, this is the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your City Manager. Your hosts, Nick Austen from Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to a bittersweet City Manager's Report. This will be my final show as I've accepted a position elsewhere. But that said, still glad to be here for one final run with my co-host, City Manager Mark Roloff. Mark, we're going to do things a little bit differently today. I know normally the first half is municipal highlights, and then we get more step-by-step or item by item, if you will, into the upcoming agenda. We're going to do things a little bit differently. It'll be more like the first half of the show, but still touching on some things that will be on the Tuesday, July 9th Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. So Thanks for being here as always.
Oh, great to be here, Nick.
All right, so first things first, let's go right into the target industry study. This has really kind of been a 6 to 8 month effort, analysis done of the entire community, but what was the real purpose of this study, if you will?
Well, a lot of it came from the anticipation that things were going to happen in the defense industry that were going to impact our community, especially with Oshkosh Corp. We anticipated that there would eventually be cutbacks, as there were, unfortunately. And so we needed to say, what's next? What's beyond that? Because we have some really great strengths in the community, but we also had to make sure that we prioritized our what our strengths are and where we want to go in the future. So this morning we just met, and Mike Matthews and David Ward were the two consultants that were hired, and Mike and Dave both gave an overview of what things are out there in economic development in general, and they identified pretty much 15 areas of economic development in general that every community needs to focus on.
Okay.
Every community is different within it, but then we said, okay, what are the clusters that are really important in Oshkosh? What types of companies are here? As a destination, what do we have to look for? Talent, and then site-based. But they identified 5 top priorities.
Okay, so go through those. You see the graphic on the screen. What were the top 5 priorities as they were laid out?
Well, most of them were the clusters themselves, and information technology is kind of overlooked, but it's a huge one, and I'll go into each of them individually. The second one was manufacturing. Third was second stage growth companies.
Now, what defines a second stage growth company?
It's sort of the company that's made it out of the woods. They've gotten to the point where they're not struggling to look for financing, but they really need to. Where are we going to go next? We've made it. We're established. We may have 10 employees or more, but we need to go the next step. So second stage growth companies are companies that just need to go to the next step, whether they're manufacturing, they could be information technology, they could be professional, but maybe they need a little more financing, but they've already got some initial financing to go with. So that's what the second stage growth companies are about. Those are the ones that have the potential to get bigger and better if they're given a little more care and investment.
And then what are the final 2 of the top priorities? Because that's 3 that we've run down so far.
Aviation is a big one. We've talked about that before with respect to
the industrial park.
The aviation industrial park, and just the airport, the presence of EAA, and all of the great combinations we have with fixed-based operations for flight. Companies like Sonics that are here that make aircraft that appeal to people who are recreational aviation enthusiasts, and then just general aviation that is really overlooked when you compare that with commercial aviation, because that's what people fly normally, but corporate aviation, these fixed-based operations, and just anybody who uses it for private business that isn't necessarily flying commercial airlines. And then the last one is talent and workforce development. It's
Okay.
it's identifying what talent's out there, recruiting them here to town, retaining the talent we do have, and that's really recognizing the university and saying we've got a lot of talent that's getting developed here.
Right.
Can we hang on to it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it's
keep
about.
them in the area.
Keep them in the area, and then working with developing the workforce with respect to training people. We've got a great technical college system here. We've got a great university. And what can we do to develop our workforce and be responsive to changes in the economy? Specifically things like when Oshkosh Corp cuts back, or a couple years ago, even down in Fond du Lac when Mercury Marine was cutting back. What do we do to retrain people so they can re-enter the workforce? They're talented people, they have an aptitude, but they just need a little more training. So those are the 5 issues that were there. Information technology is not one that people necessarily think of and say, "Oh, that's Oshkosh. We're the Silicon Valley of Wisconsin."
Yep.
But that's not what the point is. The point is recognizing the presence of information technology in the companies already here that are part of our corporate structure, part of our manufacturing structure, and recognizing that a lot of reasons that some of these companies are here are because of the university and their presence here and the training that they provide. Specifically, you think of companies like Dealer Fire and Impromed that are very technology oriented, but then you also have call-in centers, service centers where you call in.
Right.
You have Miles Kimball. You have M&I Bank that has a presence here with a call center. All of those types of operations rely heavily on technology. So they're all there. Data centers where you can store data, where you can maintain data. All those things are there, plus data security. That is a huge element these days. What can we do to tap into those markets? And are people genuinely interested in being here in Oshkosh to provide those types of services? So IT is not something to be ignored. In fact, if you scratch the surface, as we've done through this study, we really recognize that IT is going to be a huge potential growth industry for us. We're not going to be manufacturing silicone chips or iPhones or anything like that, but we do recognize that software development and servicing is going to be something for the future.
So we've got a purpose of the study. We've got the 5 top priorities as you just kind of broke them down. So the next step is, or the next question rather, is where do we go from here?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what the 5 industry or the 5 areas that we've identified. Those areas we're actually forming some subcommittees, but that's even not enough. To me, that we have an opportunity to really develop strategies, because each of those 5 areas that we had on that list, they still interact with one another. Manufacturing is very broad.
Right.
IT is very specific, but there's a manufacturing component to that.
Yep.
There's also interaction with the second stage growth companies, because they can be anything.
Yeah.
So, and aviation is a very specific niche.
Yep.
And then workforce development covers every aspect of it. So we got to make sure we're talking to one another. And part of that is getting the business community engaged, making sure that they're looking at this, saying we're meeting their needs, and so we need their input. And then the council's given me a goal to work to centralize economic development for a community standpoint. And we had a group that we assembled as a result of our Prager study, and they were working sort of in tandem with what was going on with this targeted industry study. And they agreed with everything that was going on with the targeted industry study, but there was no discussion of how do we collaboratively work together. So that's what the council's asking me to work on. And so we're going to be talking to the business community. So far, the response has been very good. The business community recognizes we need this collaborative approach. These priorities are there. Now we've got something that we can really focus on, priorities for the next few years, but we've got to keep it organized, keep it coordinated, so that nothing slips through the cracks. Because with economic development, there's opportunities that present themselves. If we aren't there, we're really going to hurt ourselves.
Absolutely. The next topic I'd like to move on to and touch on is the central garage. The city continues to make progress in regards to the new central garage. First and foremost, figuring out a timeline that kind of works financially. What's the status there?
Well, we opened up bids a few weeks ago, and we had asked that the contractor have it done no later than the middle of 2015. the low bid, not only did they say that they could meet that, but they said they can beat that.
Right.
And they said, we want to get it done by the end of 2014.
Which normally would be probably
Great news.
Cause for a great celebration.
And we were pleased, but we had planned to pay for this project over 3 fiscal years. So cash flow wise, we don't have the funds to do everything in a very short time frame. So what we did was we asked our architects to go back and talk to the contractor who's the apparent low bidder and identifying ways in which we can stretch that out a little more.
Right.
Well, the contractor will end up costing us more if we stretch into 3 fiscal years. So what we did was we identified some work that can get done. It's primarily equipment purchases, things that are sort of add-ons to the building itself.
Sure.
And you can see the wonderful condition of our central garage buildings on the video.
You mean that's not part of the paint scheme?
No, it's not part of it at all. You know, it's a young 65 years, and it's time to retire at 65 years old. So what we're planning to do is hold off on purchasing some of the add-on equipment. There's certain things we absolutely need to get done early, such as the fueling station, but there are other things that we can do later on that we can still get along without the equipment until it's done. So we're going to defer a lot of the equipment purchases until late in the project, which means 2015. But we figured out a way to get the buildings done by the end of 2014, yet stretch some of the payments into 2015 by deferring some of these equipment purchases. So we're real happy that we're going to be able to do that. We anticipate that will be on the July 9th council agenda. I think we've got all the details worked out between finance and the architects and public works.
Sure.
We're probably going to have to defer some capital projects because of that. I don't like doing that because those are street projects and that's really important, but we said our people would be a lot more efficient if this building's done earlier, and even if we have to patch some roads for another year to kind of keep them going, it's better to spend a little time on that because they'll be a lot more efficient doing it because they're going to be in this new building. Yeah,
and I know another project here in town, the UWO Horizon Village project, recently got notification that they were LEED certified, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. The city kind of has a little bit of a different approach here, but how's the city helping keep things environmentally friendly when it comes to this new central garage project?
The only real difference between what the university has done and what we're planning to do is the university sought LEED certification. And the council discussed that, but the cost to get LEED certification can be $40,000, $50,000. And frankly, we didn't want to spend that money on certification. It's great to get recognized for it, and I applaud the university for doing that. But from a practical standpoint, we didn't feel that was appropriate.
Sure.
But what we did was we put together the design, and we're presenting this to the Sustainability Advisory Board, and we've been able to get our project to design to LEED Silver certification, or standards, I should say. So we're not going to get the stamp of approval, but we are building it to that way. We've evaluated it using the LEED grading sheets, and we've discovered that we are LEED Silver standards that we're designing it to. So we're very proud of that. So we are committed to having environmentally friendly design, and we wanted to make sure that it's done fiscally responsibly as well. So that's part of what we've done. I'm really happy that all our folks have worked together to get that accomplished.
Yeah, always nice when you can do things and build things to certain standards that definitely help protect the environment. Moving right along, we talked about this a little bit on previous CMRs, the issuance of liquor licenses. Now, the council has delayed the issuance of 2 liquor licenses for about 1 month. What can you tell us in regards to the latest there?
Well, any time that we have liquor licenses that haven't been active for a year, we have an obligation to point that out to council at the time the liquor license are being issued. So we pointed that out. There were 3 that hadn't. 1 demonstrated that they're actively working to remodel and reopen, and the council was very satisfied with that. 2, one is having a little trouble selling. Another one, there hasn't been any activity at all. And it's so the 2 that haven't had any activity, the council wants to see that they're making efforts to get something done, because it really is about a fairness issue, because we have a waiting list of
Right.
people who are interested in having an establishment that has a liquor license. If we hold these liquor licenses waiting for somebody else, the other people can look at this and say, I'm willing and ready and able to open an establishment that can have a liquor license, very shortly. Why should you wait for this person who's literally doing nothing when I'm ready to go? I'm ready to turn the key, start the business, and get going. So that's the struggle council's going to have.
Sure.
I think they want to give some due process to the people who have been inactive, but they do recognize that from a fairness standpoint, they can't sit on these liquor licenses forever because that simply wouldn't be fair. And so council is going to give it a month. These folks over that month period, they have to demonstrate that they are setting aside that they're setting aside funds and are ready to make some changes in these places. Because if they aren't, and if they aren't making that progress, then I think they're going to revoke the license and make it available to somebody else who's more than willing to open up an establishment.
So when you say inactive or not doing anything, is this like a company that started up, got the liquor license, they're anticipating they're going to do this, but they just haven't gotten to that stage where they're getting the business in to then use the liquor license? Is that am I understanding that correctly?
That happens sometimes, but in both of these cases, they shut down business. They stopped operating. They haven't been operating for over a year.
Wow.
So they're just completely inactive, and why should we let them sit and just lie fallow for all that time? So we're saying, look, if you're not going to do anything with these things, there are other people who are interested. So that we just felt that was a fairness thing.
Sure. All right.
I think we got to do a question mark here, and
Sure.
I'm Shanghaiing this from you, Nick.
Okay.
So Scott in the back room has got this all squared up. So I'm going to be doing the question mark segment today. Well, Nick mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but is this Nick Austen's final show? You got to give us a little more detail, Nick.
It is.
What's going on?
Unfortunately, it is. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I have accepted a position elsewhere. I'm getting going back a little closer to where my home base currently is. I've been commuting up from McFarland area since I started, and obviously
you've added a kid to the equation.
Yeah, and I have a 4-month-old at home now too. So.
You got to change some diapers.
Yeah, going at it a little bit differently, but definitely have enjoyed my time here. And Mark, I said it to you a ton of times already, but thank you for everything that you've done, and I've appreciated just the Oshkosh atmosphere and the Oshkosh community in general for welcoming me in, accepting me, and letting this mug get on TV on a regular basis.
Well, we're going to miss you. We have improved CMR so much from the 5 years I've been with the city, and you've been a part of that, and I want to thank you. And I know Scott and Andy and everybody in the back room there appreciate everything you've done. And so good luck back at Madison College again. You're allowed to say, it's not like it's a competitor. You can tell us where you're
I'm going to be going back and hooking back up with them, which is where I was prior to coming here, and doing a lot of the same types of responsibilities that I've been doing here, story writing, video editing, those types of,
Well, you've helped us out a lot with social media, and we recognize that we need to do more and more of that. And even on my signature block for my emails now, you got me saying follow the city on Twitter and Pinterest, and I don't even know what
it's free. It's free. That's the best.
But I don't even know what some of that stuff is. But I'm following you on Pinterest and Twitter and Facebook. So thank you for that contribution. Yep. And I really think that in the future we are gonna take off and do much more of that because as our watching audience gets younger, they're more interested in staying in touch with the city through that vehicle. So appreciate your efforts in that.
You're very welcome.
We tricked you a little bit with that. So we do have another, not a question mark, but we do have another issue to talk about before the break.
Sure. So let's get to that. What I thought was going to be the question mark, I guess I should have been the one going like this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But streaming live at the Leach. When does the Live at the Leach concert series begin?
Well, this starts on Tuesday, July 9th. Streaming Live at the Leach is the concert series that's free. It's local bands, and it's an opportunity for residents to come out and just get some free local entertainment. Bring the family if you want to. We want to thank Citizens First Credit Union. They're actually the major sponsor for this event. And they're a lot, because of Citizens First sponsorship, this is free admission throughout the entire summer.
That's nice.
Part of me thinks as the Parks does this because they just want to get out of having to go to council meetings on Tuesday nights. So if we have short council meetings, I'll be able to swing over there. But it is a great opportunity for the public to take in what we have to offer at the Leach Amphitheater, the atmosphere with everything going on the Riverwalk. You can go to a local business if you want to go there for dinner and then walk. It's just going to be a wonderful opportunity for the public to enjoy their Leach Amphitheater.
Sure. Well, we still have a couple more items to get to, but we first have to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Mayor Burke, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
Welcome back to the City Manager's Report. All right, Mark, a big topic of discussion, as you said time and time again, is the big hole out in the where the parking lot for City Hall used to be, also known as what some call the swimming pool and everything else that's going to be going in. But this project really has made progress. If we take a look at the live cam, I think we can bring that up. It's actually the capping of the or the roofing of the
tank itself.
Bank. Yeah, is almost done. There's only that one section there off in the corner of the screen, the upper right corner of the screen.
Yeah, it's more than 3/4 done, as you can see right there. And this is just sort of our live shot as we're taping the show. But once we get the cap on, then we'll start filling it in to construct the parking lot on it.
Right.
But that has to be done. We have to get fill in there to secure the roof as well as the eventual parking structure or the parking lot that'll go on top of it. So the progress is being made, and that's the beginning of this process. And then we have a few other things yet to do.
Yeah, coming up on Monday, July 8th. Why don't you fill us in on what will be going on in conjunction with. It's not going to be right there with that particular project, but it's going to be in conjunction with this project.
Well, the water has to get into the tank from somewhere, and that's pretty much what we're talking about. And what's the vehicle to get the water in there is going to be a large box culvert, a big concrete square pipe underneath Church Avenue. So the intersection of Church Avenue and Central Street is going to be closed beginning Monday, July 8th.
Yep.
And it's going to remain closed for about 3 weeks.
Right.
So it's expected to reopen about Monday, July 29th.
Okay.
The idea there is this drains a large area, so it's going to be a big pipe. And so when you have that big a pipe, you're going to do a lot of digging and open the street up very wide. So if you want to come to City Hall from the east, I would suggest that you want to take Algoma Boulevard. You can enter the City Hall parking lot from Algoma. It's probably the easiest way. If you're coming from the west, you can still get on Church, but you're only going to be able to go as far as City Hall at that point. So unless you're going to City Hall, I wouldn't get on Church Avenue heading east from the west side.
Yep.
But it's the whole idea there is with the City Hall parking lot is eventually this box culvert is going to go up to the north. In 2014, we're going to be doing storm sewer in that area. which will eventually collect to the box culvert, which will connect to this pond.
Okay. Coming up July 9th and 10th, there's a couple different workshops that are scheduled. The first on the July 9th will be the workshop discussing traffic flow to the central city. What was the goal specifically? I know the council made this one of your goals. What was the goal specifically that council told you to take a look at here?
Council specifically wanted me to look at creating a coordinated plan that facilitates traffic flow between the Highway 41 corridor and the central city. And the Highway 41 corridor is pretty obvious to everybody. There's access from the north and access from the south. When people are coming from the north, how do they get here? When people are coming from the south, and then Central City is, what does that exactly mean? So that's all in how people want to interpret it. But so for purposes of this discussion, what we're defining it is an area generally south of New York Avenue, over to Bowen, down to Irving, over to the lake, and it's sort of south of that on the north side of the river.
Okay.
And then on the south side, it's pretty much going over to Knapp, up to Dempsey, and then down as far as 9th, over to the lake again. So that's what we defined as our central city. So we really need to help the council recognize what things can be done and things that could be done that would require a great deal of controversy, because these are some of the oldest areas of the city.
Right.
We deferred doing anything, building a big pond on the north side of the river. We did it in the city hall parking lot because we didn't want to take out buildings.
Yep.
Do they want us to look at taking out buildings? So we're going to identify what it would entail to literally take out buildings to do these things, or if there are other options that are available, as well as, are there simpler solutions? Are there things like signage that we can do to get people to downtown?
Yep.
And also recognizing some corridors south of the river to get to downtown from the Highway 41 corridor, pretty much taking an east-west street. Taking South Park, which is a little bit of both on a diagonal,
Right.
9th Avenue and Witzel. How do we do that? And on the north side, it's pretty much Jackson, Algoma, north-south streets. So that's what you're going to see at the workshop, and get some input from council so we can get a final report done.
That meeting will be, as we just saw on the screen, live on City Cable 10, as will this next one, a budget workshop on July 10th. Another council goal for you. Any specific recommendations with the budget there? No,
not at this time. The whole idea was council wanted to be engaged earlier in the budget process. So what they asked us to do is get us in earlier, tell us what's going on, tell us what you think is going to happen for the coming year. So specifically, they want to get an idea of the overall economic picture, where we stand, with respect to how the national and state economies will be impacting us, and then how those impact specific revenues that we're talking about, and then get us a projection where we are with, because of state limitations on property taxes, where we see property taxes going in the next few years, both from a revenue standpoint as well as a tax rate standpoint that the public's always interested in. Then taking a look at expenditures, comparing ourselves to other communities. How do we stand up? And then non-personnel costs that we can't always control because utility costs are dictated to us, fuel costs, things like that. All those things we got to take a look at.
Right.
Then what our debt is, where we stand with debt, how do we maintain our very favorable credit rating, and personnel costs. 75% of our budget, you can't ignore it. So all those issues come up, and then fund balance, making sure we have adequate reserves to fund what can happen on any rainy day. So that's what you're going to see at the workshop on July 10th.
And real quickly, since we're running out of time, in about 20 seconds if you can, how does the city budget interact with the state budget?
Sometimes too much. We depend on them for about 20% of our overall budget, and that's a challenge. And then they put limitations on us that don't help the state budget, but they do it anyway, sometimes for political purposes, but they do it, so we're limited by that.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you again, as always, and thank you, Oshkosh, as I said, for welcoming me into this community. We'll see you around.